So the combination of aligning themselves with what consumers are looking for nowadays with healthy living and low calories and so on, the slim, cool design, the delicious flavor that they have, all of that positioned them to be successful. But even then, they did not become as popular as they are now because
Welcome to Behind the Shelf, a podcast about how everyday products are made. My name is Amar.
my name is Tarek and we are your hosts.
All right, are we matching, Tarek?
I
Did
believe
you
we are.
did you
I
copy
believe we
me?
are. I think you copied me. I don't know how old is your
All right,
shirt, but mine is
I
a couple of
I
years old. So
disagree.
I,
Is it
I
old?
think mine is better. Anyway, please stop
Anyways,
shouting me.
today's episode. today's episode is about energy drinks. Um, are you a partaker of energy drinks, Tarek?
Besides just regular coffee, which I love, I do drink an energy drink every once in a while. During college
Yeah,
time,
is it
it was one of the cool things to do, as you know. You stack up Red Bulls during all-nighters in the library when you're preparing for the finals.
I'm a fan of Red Bull, especially like the new flavors. Like watermelon is so good that it's become my new road trip choice.
You know, I haven't had a Red Bull in a long time that I did not know they had a watermelon. How was that?
Yeah, they have a bunch of different flavors. They have fig, they have watermelon, they have apricot or
Fig.
something. Then there's a few other
I know
ones.
they have berries one. They
Um,
have like the blue one and the red one. Outside of their standard design Red Bull and the light version, like low sugar or no sugar, they
yeah,
also
yeah.
have the flavored ones. I didn't know they have like this many flavors.
Yeah, whoever their development team is doing amazing, and their marketing. Well, we all know Red Bull's marketing is just like top tier.
Actually, let's get there. What do you think of when you think of Red Bull?
Well, right off the cuff, right? Red Bull gives you wings. You know the motto.
The
It's as
tagline?
famous as it's as famous as McDonald's model, right? Da-da-da-da-da, I'm
Yeah.
loving it. That's how like amazing their marketing was for Red Bull. It was everywhere. And I don't know about you, but in Canada, they were at every ski slope, snowboard slope, and they were at the bottom. You know, with that Red Bull truck with
Yeah.
the red, like they were everywhere. They were everywhere, and this was during university, right? So I don't want to
And they
age
had that
myself.
car. They also had that
Yeah,
mini
they had
car
that
with the
car.
Red Bull can on top and behind. Yeah.
And they had like all these pretty girls. They would go to all these ski slopes and they would hand out free.
That is
And I was like,
exactly marketing. I like how you went directly into their tagline and their marketing because that is exactly the space of energy drinks. It's really nowadays a lot of the energy drinks that we see are not very different from each other and they are all about
yeah,
marketing. And Red Bull
yeah,
is that's exactly what they want to associate themselves with. You notice all their marketing is about risky sports. It's about like
yeah.
jumping off a plane. All their marketing campaigns are about
Crazy
something.
viral stuff.
Exactly. Not only things that would go viral on their own and they just slap their tag on it, but they
Yeah,
also want to be like they go out of their way and they sponsor
they're
very risky
actively doing
events.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're actively doing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like energy drinks itself is like this segment that's been, I don't know, popularized in the last 30 years and then
Yeah.
really congested in the last 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So the early versions actually, if let's talk about history a little bit because
Yeah,
you'll
yeah.
see
So
how
so take
Red
it.
Bull,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how Red Bull kind of intersects with that and it'll make sense more on why are they kind of associated with the energy drinks every time you think of the word energy drinks.
Yeah,
Um,
so let's do what we normally do, right? Take us through history. How is this concept of energy drinks like created, and then how does that lead to where we are today?
so I'm going to start with 1982. An Austrian businessman, his name was Dietrich Mateschitz. He
Okay.
essentially went to Thailand and after flying from Austria into Thailand, he was feeling tired and he saw this drink in the market. And he noticed that when he tried it, it destroyed his jet lag. It completely took it away and he no longer was feeling it. So I was like,
Oh, okay.
he started kind of getting curious about the idea, the concept of a drink that makes you not feel tired. That drink at the time was called Krating Daeng. If you look at a
Uh,
bottle of
Krating Daeng.
Krating Daeng, the label was blue. The more modern one was more blue with yellow backdrop, sun, and two Red Bulls raging at each other. Essentially Red Bull.
Okay.
However, it was called
Oh,
that. So he got curious about this, and that product that he saw was actually not at all associated with energy drinks or the concept of energy drinks. It was actually a product that was launched by a Japanese company 20 years before. So it existed
oh.
since 1962. And it was targeted at factory workers and truck drivers, people who worked long hours. And that drink was even like the bottle itself, if you look at it, it was marketed very like a cough drink, very like a cough syrup packaging. It's like this brown glass, short neck with this metal cap.
So it looked like
Not something
medicine.
that you would want to look exactly. It looked like medicine, and it also seemed like to have been even tasted like one. So
Mm,
the marketing that this product had was not at all associated with sports and whatnot. It didn't even have caffeine like it did at the time. That drink, all it had
okay.
was taurine and some vitamins.
So so you meant wait, taurine. What's taurine?
So taurine is actually one of the main ingredients that exist in energy drinks now. It's essentially gives you more power, gives you more force, and it helps essentially with oxygen intake in your muscle to give you more energy. Um,
Okay.
it's essentially available in every energy drink that you see in the market. There is not a lot of le- good science to back up its effectiveness. There's a lot of on and off studies that tell you it's effective. So it's not very consistent, and it's not very been,
Okay.
but it's very available in all energy drinks because of this belief that it help give you more energy and more explosiveness, if you will.
Okay. So this guy saw this. He had this drink in Thailand. It essentially cured his jet lag, and he's like, "I this is something." What did he do? Did did he is he the one who started like Red Bull or
So what he did, he essentially just tried to get a hold of the person that created this product, who's a Thai businessman who I'm pretty sure who had a lot of scientists behind him to create it, but
yeah?
associated with that product and the creation of that product. His name was Kaleo Yovida. So, and he was he was from Thailand, and together they started talking about how he can make this drink international.
Okay.
So that Austrian businessman took that product, changed the formulation a little bit, changed the packaging, changed the sugar level, and brought it into the European market. You obviously need to make changes like this to make it fit the market that you're trying to enter, and change the name from Krating Daeng to Red Bull.
Okay.
Enter Red Bull. 1987, it enters the market in Austria and it spreads all over Europe. And from then it goes into the United States in 1997. And that's when you start to see a lot of new companies that enter that space. So you have like Monster starts to show up then. 5 Hour Energy shows up in early 2000. Rockstar, Bang, all those companies start to show up between 97 and like 2008 window.
Yeah.
All of them
And I
started.
feel
Yeah.
I feel like or not I read a long time ago like kind of it was almost like a case study of how Red Bull got to where it was, and there was a period of time that Red Bull was having trouble in North America to try to get sales, and people were not that interested in that. And that's when like the severe push in marketing. You remember that pivotal moment in where they had the man go up all the way to the edge of the atmosphere, and then he jumped. That I think that was the first time the world like really paid attention to Red Bull, and from then on, well, the rest is history. And I guess it paved the way for Rockstar Energy, Monster is also big, and then nowadays it's Celsius.
So you mentioned Celsius, and nowadays
Yeah.
Celsius, if you think about Celsius, they're associated with like It's like a healthy drink. It's tasty. I don't know if you tried it. I've tried a few. They're very tasty
I've
drink.
not tried it, but I've seen it on a shelf, and I've seen like a few people pick it up. And at that, like, I didn't know until you just mentioned it on its healthier side, or that's at least what they're trying to do. I had no idea. I thought it was just another one on the shelf, right beside Monster, beside all Bang Energy and all
Yes,
this stuff. I had no idea.
Celsius, at least in the United States, is has exploded recently. Everywhere I go, whether you're in the gym, people walking in the street, Celsius is everywhere. They have ads, they have props, they have fridges in the
Oh,
grocery store, literally everywhere. And
really?
all of this, like I remember maybe 2 years ago is when I started to see all of that happening. Before that, it literally doesn't exist. And so
Yeah.
if you kind of look back in the history of Celsius, Celsius started as a fat burning or calorie burning drink, and they used to promote a lot of that at the front of their can. So it would say like burn more calories or something like that to kind of promote more healthy living. However,
Okay.
the founder started it in 2009 was like Steve Harley, and he could not position the marketing of that product well enough for it to gain popularity. One of the major investors that had controlling stakes in the company in 2012, his name was Carl DeSantis from
Okay.
Florida, not to be confused with the governor of Florida at the moment. But Carl DeSantis essentially, he kind of got sick of Steve Harley and the founders, and he kind of just bought them out, and he hired his own team. He hired Gary David, John Fieldly, which at the time was the CFO, but he's the current CEO of the company, and a previous president of Coca-Cola, and they consulted with a marketing guru. So the team that he created was basically a bunch of people who knew how to turn around. Like Gary David was known at the time of the king of turning around companies. That's his thing.
Okay.
He hired essentially the team that would be able to take this product that he saw potential in, and they were able to flip it around. And that's when you started to see Celsius to kind of pick up. They shifted its entire marketing from burning more calories into lifestyle drinks. So right now you see all their ads, they're associated with a tasty drink, something that gives you energy for the day, not necessarily associated with workout, not necessarily associated with gender. They try to kind of break those barriers that the energy drink industry kind of box themselves in and kind of
Hmm.
associate themselves with something that is just a lifestyle. If you want to be healthy, you drink Celsius. If you have an active lifestyle, you drink Celsius. If you're going on a hike, you drink Celsius. Working out, Celsius. They don't
Okay.
necessarily associate with themselves. Even if you go to their website, you'll see like maybe 60 to 70% of the models there are women, and then the rest is men. So it is pretty even distribution between the two to make sure they are not associated with one specific type of people or lifestyle. They're trying to fit everyone's lifestyle as long as they perceive themselves as being or acting healthy.
And then what that flip was made them work? Like what happened then?
So the combination of aligning themselves with what consumers are looking for nowadays with healthy living and low calories and so on, the slim, cool design, the delicious flavor that they have, all of that positioned them to be successful. But even then, they did not become as popular as they are now because they didn't have the distribution to reach the entire nation, specifically in the United States. However, in
Okay.
2022, PepsiCo actually bought a stake in the company, 8.5% of the company, in
Pepsi.
exchange for distribution. So every truck of Pepsi, so if you go to any grocery store, any 7-Eleven, anywhere that has Pepsi products, there's a
They
Pepsi
have this.
truck that comes in that refills anything that Pepsi sells, whether that's Pepsi Cola or
Yeah.
any other water or anything. And now they have Celsius. So they integrated Celsius into their distribution
That's a
channel.
smart deal.
That
That's
is
a
a smart
smart deal.
that is a smart deal for Pepsi because now the success of Celsius is the success of Pepsi, And
Yeah,
also, it's
yeah.
obviously better for Celsius. It's a tiny company, it's a startup, but now they have reached explosive growth because they are able to exist anywhere you enter. So part of being successful in that space is you need to be available. Consumers need to see the ad, but
Yeah, of
also
course.
wherever you go, I see Celsius in front of me. And that is exactly what you see right now.
Huh. Yeah. Interesting. And I guess like Prime is kind of looking at also the same framework because that shit's everywhere too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy. So did they? You said that Celsius positioned themselves as a healthy alternative, even though it being energy drink, but from a healthier perspective with healthier like ingredients. What was it made out of? Like what from a formulation standpoint? What's in it?
Fun fact, it's not that much different than the other of the energy drinks. You probably have guessed this. It's all everything we've just talked about has been just marketing, positioning, distribution. Nothing really
Okay.
about the product itself. However, if you look at their formulation and you compare it to Monster, you compare it to Red Bull, it's really not that different, but they do have a few more natural ingredients, things like green tea extract, ginger root extract, things that have not only caffeine, but also they have anti-inflammatory properties, they have antioxidants in them, and along the line with obviously they have guarana seeds, which essentially is the caffeine source, and a lot of vitamins and minerals that help give you a little bit of more hydration, helps improve your metabolism, and also so you're not only burning calories but also gaining a little more sustained energy. But outside of that, what they also do, instead of putting cane sugar or natural sugar like Red Bull does, they use sucralose, which is like a sugar alcohol, which helps
Okay.
them achieve a good level of sweetness without a lot of calories. Like they're like 10 calories per can, I think. So it's very low. However, the idea of sugar alcohols is very, very much misunderstood. That it is healthy. Yes, it is low calories, but it impacts your GI and it impacts your metabolism because it changes your the bacteria composition in your intestines.
So wait, you said it affects your GI tract, and so what exactly in the composition or the chemical structure of sugar alcohols? What exactly is causing these issues? Because I've seen that ingredient in a few different things, not only energy drinks, but
So the sweetener that Celsius uses specifically is sucralose, and sucralose. The problem with it is that it's artificial sweetener, and
okay,
it may come from natural sources, but for the most part, it's synthetic. And what's unique about it and what makes it so popular in drinks nowadays is that it's 600 times sweeter than sugar. So
six hundred times.
it is very concentrated. You can put just
Wow.
a tiny bit to your drink and get the sweetness flavor. However, the problem with sugar alcohols in general, sucralose included, is that
Uh-huh.
your body cannot ingest them, which is why when you consume them, they taste sweet, but your body cannot break them down. Therefore, they have no caloric intake. So that's why a lot of the energy drinks, not just energy drinks, sodas and all of that, they start to substitute with those sugar alcohols because they don't count as your calorie intake because your body cannot ingest them and break them down.
So
How
so what happens to it if your body can't digest it? Then what happens?
it sits a long time in your intestines, and that can cause things like bloating, things like diarrhea, a lot of digestive issues, and also it can alter the gut microbiome, which means it can impact
Uh-huh.
your mood, it can impact your metabolism. It really has an impact on your health. However, and can even impact your weight. By the way, it can increase your weight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes sense.
they make a more fundamental change about your gut microbiome in a way that we don't quite understand fully their impact, and that to me is not healthy. So
Yeah.
a
No, of
drink like
course.
Celsius that market themselves as healthy and then they use an ingredient like this, to me that is a false statement, if you will, or it's not a statement, but it's a marketing trick that they do that look at us at healthy, low calories. But now, to be fair, this is a drink, this is a product, or this is a sweetener that is used across the board for a lot of the sugar-free beverages that exist in the industry, not exclusively to Celsius. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that it's healthy just because it is low-calorie drink, and something to be aware of in general.
So Celsius positions themselves in a way where they align with what the customer is looking for. So the healthy alternative, they put themselves there. That, hey, look at me, I'm the healthy alternative. Use me in your gym. Use me in your workout. They moved away from the energy aspect, but they made it almost like a lifestyle choice. And they then plugged in into the Pepsi distribution, and they were able to get anywhere in the country. And I get then they made it to Canada, and then wherever they are in, I'm assuming they're in Europe now,
Oh yeah,
right?
oh yeah. They're also
Yeah.
popular in Europe, not as popular
And
as in the
then
US.
we also talked about how, from a formulation standpoint, they made minor tweaks with the vitamins and a bunch of other stuff. But so energy drinks in general, they have what? They have caffeine, they have taurine, they have some sort of list of vitamins. Obviously, they have water. They have the sugar alcohol or sugar or cane sugar in any of those formats. Any other things they generally tend to have?
For the most part, if you're looking for what makes an energy drink, that's it. It's literally just water, taurine, and then your caffeine source. For the most part, that's guarana seed. The reason they use guarana seed, by the way, is because it's even more caffeinated than coffee, and
Oh, okay.
the how do I call this? Like the impact of caffeine on your body is different than that is of coffee. So if you think about coffee and tea, for example, when you drink a cup of coffee, you will feel the energy right away, and it will be sustained for a long time, and then you start to feel a crash a few hours later.
Hmm.
But when you drink a cup of tea or 2 cups of tea to get the same amount of caffeine, the feeling of caffeine is more gradual. It's not as intense. You don't get the jitters.
Yeah.
So both caffeinated drinks, both have caffeine, but the way their caffeine interacts with your body and impacts your energy is different. And this is exactly why they use guarana seed, is how that caffeine that comes from that plant interacts with your body and the rest of the ingredients. So we always talk about how all of these products that we talk about are made, and for
Yeah.
energy drinks, it's quite straightforward. All you have is a bunch of powders. That's the ingredients we've been talking about. For the most part, all of them come in powdered format. They come in big super sacks, and they get dumped into a mixing tank. So that mixing tank will have water added to it first, and then all
Yeah.
of these ingredients will come in along with the flavor. And if you need colorant, you would add it there, and you mix it up for like 15-20 minutes at a certain speed to make sure all the ingredients are mixed properly. And that's pretty much it from a making perspective. You still now obviously still have to cap it, you have to carbonize it, you have to pasteurize it, but you've had your energy drink completed at this stage. Very simple process. You can
Okay.
even make that
So
stuff at
they
home, actually.
I guess you can. I mean, now we have SodaStream, right? I mean, you could do whatever
Yeah.
you want and put it under your SodaStream and
Yeah,
carbonate.
I've seen YouTube videos people making Red Bull at home. Like it gets
Yeah,
tricky with how you
I don't
get
see
some
why
of these
not.
ingredients, but you can make that at home. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why not. Okay, so they put it into a mixing tank. They have everything. Do they carbonate it first before they pasteurize, or do they pasteurize and then carbonate? What's next?
So it depends on the process that you're following, right? So if you're doing the pasteurization before packaging, then you would do mixing and then pasteurization, and then you cool it down, and then you carbonize it, and then you fill it.
Okay.
You want to make sure in that specific process step that we just mentioned, you want to make sure you carbonize after pasteurization, because once you go pasteurization and you elevate the temperature of the product, you lose a lot of the fizziness, because carbon dioxide will just escape more easily. So they typically cool it down, goes through like a heat exchanger that chills down the product to a lower temperature, and then inject the carbon dioxide and then pack it. However, if we're talking about the other alternative process where you pasteurize it in the can. You can do that anywhere after you've mixed it. So you can mix it, carbonize it, you can pack it, and then pasteurize those cans. And another thing to notice here is that a lot of those drinks, there's ranges to the fizziness. So if you are thinking of a Coca-Cola, for example, it's a lot more fizzy than if you're drinking any energy drink. That nowadays, like Celsius, it's very mildly fizzy. So you can also control the amount of carbonization that you inject into your product to control the taste and the experience of the consumer.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then your liquid is now in ready form. It goes to filling, and then they just fill it in a ready-made can, or what happens?
So the cans will come in pre-molded into the shape that you see, and a lot of them, especially with the smaller sites like Celsius, where they have a lot of flavors going on, they would
Okay.
have the can even labeled and has the print on it already. And all they do is
Oh,
just
okay.
fill it and then press the seal on it. Similar to what we talked in soup with the canned soup, where we talked about this
Okay.
double seam situation.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same mechanism that ensures that you seal it and remain sealed.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you look at the can, it's very it's very similar to the soup can, so that makes sense. And then I guess finally, we haven't talked about fizzy drinks and kind of the can format in our episode. This is the first one. So, what quality checks do these factories do? Like
So,
what are they doing? Yeah, how do they ensure that we get that nice fizzy delicious, I don't know, Celsius or something?
so if you're talking about something like Celsius, right? They're looking for the flavor. They're testing for that to make sure that the Celsius flavor is amazing. So you should definitely give it a shot. And that's one of
You
their
know,
value
after you said
propositions.
that, I will try.
I'm not a representative and we're not sponsored by Celsius, but they do have a tasty flavor. And I truly believe this is part of their marketing, right? Like it's tasty and effective. Anyway, so one of the quality checks they would do is the flavor, especially when you subject the product to pasteurization. You want to make sure that the flavor didn't get destroyed in that process.
Right.
So a test on flavor, you just taste it, ensure that the fizziness level that we just talked about is there. And it goes also through an automated metal detector to make sure there is no foreign objects in the can, nothing metallic that might be present in the product itself. And
They
that's
do
it.
that pre-canning or post-canning?
They can do either or, depending on the process.
Either or.
Uh, Usually, it's safer to do it after and just before you put it in a case and you ship it, because then you ensure nothing that entered
Yeah, that's the
in the
final step.
filling and the packaging area. Yeah.
Yeah. And then fizziness. You said they measure fizziness? How do they do that?
So there are actually a few ways that you can do this. One of the easier, more straightforward ways you can think of is as you take a sample off the line and you shake it vigorously, and then you ensure that it is at a set temperature, and then you measure the pressure inside that can. So if you notice any soft drink, the can will be pressurized. So they measure that pressure, and that tells them the level of fizziness inside that can. So that's one
Okay.
non-destructive way that they can do it. Something more advanced they can do is using a gas chromatography, which essentially we talked about that in our gasoline episode actually. It's
Yeah.
essentially a device that helps you measure the level of gas within the liquid itself. So that's something more like scientific and more analytical tool that you might see in a quality lab. And
Hmm.
finally, another way that they refer to is just sensory. So just like they're tasting it for
Yeah.
flavor, they can just taste it, and based on expert panel, they determine this is fizzy enough for the specification that they have, and off they go.
Yeah. Measure it against a gold standard, I guess, just like how we did it for a few different products we've talked about.
Yep.
Cool. I guess that's it, right?
Yeah, that's it. Now you got your Celsius.
Well, all right. I'm gonna actually take you up on that. I'm gonna go grab a Celsius next time I'm in the grocery store. And thank. I mean, I appreciate you taking us through the world of energy drinks and then kind of how Celsius became what it is today. It's a whole different world, and carving market share is hard, and what they've done is amazing. I learned a lot, and I appreciate you taking some time off. With that being said, that's the end of our episode. So thank you for listening. Leave us a suggestion on what you want to hear about next, and as usual, check us up on our socials. And my name is Amar.
My name is Tarek. Have a wonderful rest of your day.